seconds and into the box. On the countdown to the start, race 1, America's Cup 2007, Valencia, Spain. So it's Team New Zealand coming in from starboard or the Kibini boat. And coming in from the port hand, it is the defender Alinghi. With Ed Baird on the helm, Team New Zealand making sure that Alinghi go into the dial-up. And now Dean Barker on the helm for Team New Zealand brings it up into the dial-up as well. So a good way to breeze. It'll be fascinating, James Spittle, to see how long they hold in this dial-up.
Yeah, you see Team New Zealand there doing a little bit later dial-up than Alinghi. Dean already trying to get into a controlling position to really try and put some pressure on Ed. And this next 30 seconds to a minute will be very interesting to see who can get the upper hand here.
And put pressure on how?
Well, he really, in my mind, I think Dean's going to try and hold Ed out to the port side of the start line, the left-hand side, and really try and stamp some authority and get some control. You know, we've just seen how important it is to try and get a jump off the start line, and conditions are steady like this. If he can be the lead boat around the top mark, it'll be very, very difficult to pass.
That's a very good point, because it is steady. It's even right across the course. Very fair at the moment.
Okay, here we go. First move now. Team New Zealand bailing out on the port tack. Dean Barker making the decision now to get out of the dial-up and sail away on port tack. Let's see how Alinghi responds to it.
We hear the voice of Brad Butterworth. Let's go.
Okay, Ed Baird out of trouble now. He's, I think he's going to really breathe a sigh of relief now. He got out of that dial-up. He's not in a too bad spot right now. And I think we're going to see the boats now get into some circling and start approaching that final approach for the start line.
Inside 3 minutes as we come down now to 2 minutes 50.
Okay, Team New Zealand jibing on starboard. Dean looking to do a circle and set up behind Ed. Let's see what Ed does to this. No, double jibe. Team New Zealand double jibe. Now the big question here, PJ, is whether Alinghi can jibe and not be penalised here in time.
Big E's, that's the voice of Brad Butterworth. Big E's, 220.
Okay, both boats holding on port here and look like they're going to go into the final approach here.
Right, well, this is where they lay their bed. It's 2 minutes now. Whatever happens over the next 60 seconds really is going to be a key factor in the start. 2 minutes.
7 degrees to boat.
Okay, we're hearing a little line bias to the boat end side, so that means that there's a slight advantage with this wind direction, but the boat end is favoured, and I think we're going to see a fight for the right, PJ.
Coming down to 145. It's a fight for the right as Team New Zealand's on the lead. Alinghi's on the push.
Okay, Team New Zealand electing to approach back, and Alinghi, yes, also going to go inside there.
So it's Alinghi here on the left, Team New Zealand on the right. That's Peter van Nieuwhuizen on the bow for Alinghi. Coming down to 120. Alinghi out to the right now, Team New Zealand out to the left.
Yeah, I like this. I think Team New Zealand are caught for the right. I think Dean's in a good position to execute that. And for Alinghi, they have to try and start as close as they can. The only risk here is if Team New Zealand are above that committee boat lay line.
So can Alinghi try and hold Team New Zealand out? That's got to be a key inside the final minute to the start of the first race, America's Cup 2007.
Yeah.
Looks safe here to me. I think the Kiwis are going to be fine. They're going to be able to get a start off. Alinghi now just trying to get that separation down to a minimum.
So as we look up the course, it will be Team New Zealand out to the right. It is Alinghi to the left. Alinghi down to leeward and ahead at the moment. Peter van Nieuwhuizen on the bow of Alinghi. Meanwhile, it is Jero Lomas on the bow, signalling back to Dean Barker. 20 seconds to the start.
17, 15, 14, 13.
Winding up now for the slingshot start. 10 seconds.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
The start. Race 1, the 32nd America's Cup of Valencia, Spain. It is Team New Zealand in the windward position. It's Alinghi down to Leeward and ahead. Now we come to the first trial of strength. How long can Team New Zealand live on the hip? Or can they live there?
Speed is good. 10 knots is good.
Well, great job there, I think, by Dean Barker. I'm sure that those guys wanted the right-hand side. Looked close on the lay line, but at the end of the day, executed a nice right-hand start. And as you said, PJ, this will be the real first speed test we've seen between the two boats.
This is it, folks. The first trial of strength on the first leg of the first race of the America's Cup.
Pressure holds, Louis.
You see, the separation looks pretty similar to how they came off the start line, so things look quite even. Team New Zealand look pretty nice, doing a pretty nice job to windward. And hanging in there just fine to me, PJ.
That sounds like James Dagg talking to Grant Loretz. His nickname is Louis. When you hear Louis, they're referring to Grant Loretz, the upwind trimmer. That's on board Team New Zealand.
Little choppy.
I think Team New Zealand are gaining, PJ. I think they're just starting to climb off Alinghi. And you look at that, to me, the separation has maybe increased a little there.
Here's what really is the first crosshair of this America's Cup. And it looks like from here, it looks like Alinghi going to be able to get a lee bow, a tight lee bow on Team New Zealand here.
Little soft. That's right, that's a 2.
They may even be able to cross. It'll be interesting to see what they want to do, though.
20 seconds to go, Ed, all right?
Looks like they're going to tack in front or lee bow and then try and push Team New Zealand out to that right side of the race course.
It's good that we're getting information off the boats. The Defender.
Say first points in this race to Alinghi to be able to control that first meeting.
How much the other? It's 2 to 1.
Yeah, so exactly what we were talking for before. Brad Bodus is asking that information. How much time is it? 6 and 3 means they always talk when they say 6 and 3. It's 6 minutes. The first number you hear is the direction that you're heading at the time. The second number is the other direction. So he knows it's 2 to 1 on their way. So that means that they've got a really good chance here he'll be trying to push Team New Zealand out to that lay line as early as possible. Likewise, Team New Zealand will be knowing the same thing, and they'll be trying to keep the time that they spend on port tack, as we see them tacking now, as to the minimum, so they can keep forcing their way back into the middle of the race course and keep this race really tight. This will be interesting for us here to see how the boats are performing in tacking. We've always seen Team New Zealand perform well in tacking duels against other teams.
It's 2.5 and 50. It's 2.5 and 5 though. Next standby.
Second meeting on this first leg.
Pick your spot, Ed.
Initial advantage with Alinghi, the defenders of the America's Cup.
Playing standing to better pressure. Next one, quick, stronger.
There's so little in it in this first race, and we'll be able to see through virtual eye in a moment the tracking of these two boats as they come out of the tacks, and you get an indication there of just how fast and how smooth they are coming out of the tacks.
Nice. Sway if you have to. Sway if you have to.
Really important. Tacking today is quite difficult because of the amount of waves out there. You can't just, in a flat water day, the tacticians will be like, okay, let's tack here, and the helmsman can basically do it any time. Now you're seeing a lot of waves, and if you tack at the wrong time and cop a bad wave, you can really.
Well, this is where the helmsman comes in. He's got to pick the spot.
Exactly.
They can say, navigator or tactician can say tack now, but It's up to the helmsman to get it smooth.
Exactly. You heard in the last exchange when we were listening to Brad Butterworth, he said, pick your spot, Ed. And that's purely, okay, I want you to tack soon, but make sure you do it at a good time.
Now they'll be coming out to the port lay line. So once Alinghi tacks, Team New Zealand will have to follow the leader out to the top mark.
Exactly. Both boats coming out to the port lay line, tack, and then set up. We can already see Pete Van Nieuwenhausen on the bow, setting up the halyard, and no doubt Jero Lomas and the guys on the Team New Zealand boat will be doing the same. And I think this is encouraging. You know, they've been able to close this distance up, and this will be the next test to see how the boats go downwind.
Team New Zealand out to the right, they are getting very close, and you can see the drenching that Pete Van Nieuwenhausen is getting. That really is a quick potted summary of how bumpy it is out here today.
Yeah, we're there, let's go.
That was from the leftover seaway from the wind direction last night, plus the huge spectator wash that's been created. Here comes the final track. They're on the runway to the top mark first time. Mark 1, race 1, America's Cup 2007. Alinghi out to the left, Team New Zealand now also leading up to the top mark. Mark 1, race 1, 32nd America's Cup. Alinghi, the defender, leads round the mark. The early advantage to Team New Zealand coming away from the start, but Alinghi have got the lead. Team New Zealand coming with the hoist. 13 seconds, that's close enough to attack. Here comes the hoist from Team New Zealand. Excellent hoist from Alinghi. Another good hoist from Team New Zealand. Now, can the red spinnaker, the big red Jenica, disrupt the airflow coming down under the white one? That's the trick, James. That's what they're going to try and do. Team New Zealand out to the right.
See Team New Zealand jibing now. This is leg 2. What do Alinghi do in response?
There we go. Alinghi not choosing to go with Team New Zealand. Happy to keep extending down on starboard jibe. So this gives Team New Zealand the first small split of the race,
which can mean nothing, but can mean substantial gains for one or the other.
So the right
this all means.
Down's always slightly favoured, eh?
Is Butterworth just reaffirming his decision to sail straight on.
Yeah, he's talking here about the favour of the gate at the bottom and which one is favoured, and they're saying that the right-hand gate is the favoured gate. And I'm assuming he's talking about the right-hand gate looking from their perspective now, looking downwind.
Here they go.
Nice puff on us here.
So they're not going to give Team New Zealand too much leverage.
Let's go. Here we go. Stand by. Jibe it. Let's go in.
At the moment, they're about 400 metres separation, but certainly Alinghi were keen to close that up again. You don't expect any mistakes, do you, with crew work from these two?
No, that was a very nice jibe there. Really, really nice jibe on a wave. They didn't have to. The key to jibing in these boats is with the asymmetric spinnaker is that to get the spinnaker flopped around to the other side and not having to trim it in too far to get it fill again. If you have to trim the spinnaker all the way into the mainsail, it's very, very slow. And that looked like a really nicely timed wave.
That is where they're heading. That is Mark 2, over halfway down the second leg. And we just heard Brad Butterworth, skipper and tactician of Alinghi, say this is a very good mode. Don't change anything.
Yeah, said it very confidently too, PJ. So obviously what he's talking about there is giving the feedback to the trimmers to add on the wheel, the boat speed guys, and really saying, look guys, we're gaining here. Keep doing what you're doing. And certainly first signs, Alinghi is definitely no slower than Team New Zealand. We look at the numbers, 140 metres. They've actually gone out another 70 metres from the top mark, and Obviously, they'd be pretty happy on board right now.
That's just happened recently, though. For the first half of this off-wind leg, there was though they were locked or tied together at 80 metres apart.
Looked quite similar. I mean, looked very, very close like it did for the upwind leg. We saw the two boats split. We saw Team New Zealand jibe away, and certainly Alinghi have come out with a small advantage after that.
So less than 1,000 metres now to the second mark, and halfway through this race one of the 32nd America's Cup, the first to be held in Europe since 1851.
See both bow teams now just setting up, dropping the staysail there. You can see Team New Zealand boat there, Rich Meacham just putting the staysail away, and right now the trimmers will be giving the feedback to the bow team on what headsail they want for the next beat. Visually, looks like it could be a little lighter up the top of the course, but still plenty of breeze to get through the race. You can see the bow team now, Team New Zealand, dragging that headsail up, and we'll see if we can hear a bit of a call to what jib they've put up the top there.
So that's on the bow now of Team New Zealand. So it's Jero Lomas right at the sharp end. Richard Meacham just back at the mast is Matthew Mason. Really skilled, experienced sailors. But they've got a match on their hands here in this race one.
Yeah, Matthew Mason, one of the original Team New Zealand crew members from the winning team in 95 and 2000. See Jero Lomas going out now to retrieve the string line, they call it. You see him reaching in there. Now this is the line that the teams use to pull the spinnaker into the down into the hatch into the boat, hook it up to a wheel downstairs, and then the grinders take over and grind that sail into the boat.
They make it look so easy, James. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's a circus act, but they just make it as every day it happens. Now we're looking on the bow of Alinghi, and there's work being done there by Peter van Nieuwhuizen, Curtis Blewett, at the mast, Francesca Rapetti. Brad Butterworth, the skipper, out to the left there. Juan Vila, a brilliant navigator from Spain, is aboard Alinghi. Ernesto Bertarelli in the aftergarden on the runner. And a key man, and often understated, with the huge impact he makes, not only on the water but ashore as well, is Murray Jones. And he is the strategist traveller.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So there's a lot of housework going on here at the moment.
See Pete van Nieuwenhuizen tidying the boat up. Looks like Alinghi's approaching the right-hand gate. If you look downwind, or as we see there, the left-hand mark. Looks like they're going to protect the breeze over on the left-hand side. They took the gain out there, and obviously still believe there's a little bit more to head there.
But it was interesting when we overheard Brad Butterworth say he thought that the right-hand side was favoured, just down by this mark. So we'll see as they come down to the gate to round the mark. And this is Alinghi, defender of the America's Cup. Very good drop, quick and slick. There was a lot of speculation that Alinghi's crew work would not be up to the top challenges, but they're going okay so far. Round mark number 2. And the clock is ticking against Emirates Team New Zealand. Another very good drop by Team New Zealand there as they get ready to round the mark. Harden on the wind for the second time. This into leg number 3. 20 seconds now is the advantage. Alinghi leads Team New Zealand.
Yeah, both boats there, very, very tidy drops, and the kind of a crew work you expect at this level make it look very easy. You see the both boats split at the bottom mark there, had the opportunity. Alinghi now tacking over, but here's the next test now, folks, to see if Team New Zealand can get some gain back and really try and come back into this race.
Leg number 3, race 1 of the America's Cup, and Emirates Team New Zealand are still trailing Alinghi, the defenders of the Cup, but it's only a matter of 15 metres the difference, so this is not stretched out to be any one boat race at all. This has been competitive. Emirates Team New Zealand at the end of leg number 2 were about 180 metres adrift, trailed by 20 seconds at the second mark. But they have managed to close it up. Here's a summary of the stats on this leg number 3, Cameron. The average speeds, again, this was the downwind leg, and Switzerland were slightly faster, which will surprise many because of all the pre-race talk.
Yeah, and remembering this is just an average over the entire leg. The interesting part there was the Switzerland were a little faster, but then also sailed slightly more distance. So maybe that means they just sailed a slightly higher, would call a higher mode than Team New Zealand. So they sail a faster, but they sail closer to the wind, which makes them sail a further distance. That might all end up being the two boats are pretty similar. You know, if you can sail faster, higher, lower, slower, you might get to the top, the bottom mark at exactly the same time.
Getting some activity now in leg number 3. Brad Butterworth's comments coming out loud and clear from Alinghi. Their lead is a couple of boat lengths.
So Team New Zealand made a pretty significant gain at the bottom of this second upwind leg. Now I think we'll see more of our standard match racing attacking duel here, with Team New Zealand trying to keep gaining in on Alinghi, and Alinghi will be just trying to keep bouncing them out to the left.
So the grinder's getting a bit of work to do at the moment. This is the second of the upwind legs. This is as close as it's been. Look at that. That's 17 metres now. So Emirates Team New Zealand, they'll be heads up at the moment.
You know, sort of 12s and 14s.
Hutchinson's right on Dean Barker's shoulder there, keeping an eye on Alinghi as well as what's happening ahead of them on the water. Here we go again. This is really closed up.
Yeah, Emirates Team New Zealand doing a fantastic job here to keep this close as possible. Alinghi still are in a pretty controlling position. They'll be happy, but they won't want to see Team New Zealand getting any closer. It's really showing to us that how evenly matched these two teams are.
Leg 1 was a 13-second advantage to Alinghi after Dean Barker had a very good start.
What are the times?
Got to right, windward side of Alinghi. They kept a slight advantage over Alinghi for the first half of that beat, and then Alinghi got a slight bit more pressure to take the advantage and lead at the first mark by 13 seconds. There was no alteration on the downwind leg. New Zealand couldn't make any impression at all. In fact, they dropped 7 seconds. It was 20 seconds to Alinghi. And now, again, they're less than 2 boat lengths the difference.
So a big spectator fleet right around the top mark as they're coming now to the three-quarter stage of race 1 of the 32nd America's Cup. The first to be held in Europe since 1851.
Yeah.
So they've got everything ready on both boats now, and Alinghi are getting ready for the hoist. Incredible noise as they ease off the sheet. Headbed bringing the bow down. Mark 3. Race 1. Here comes the hoist. There's Simon Daubney, a brilliant trimmer. He's won 15 America's Cup races on the trot, a record. Will he and the others who have done that extend that today? 14 seconds. 20 at Mark 2, so Team New Zealand has taken 6 seconds out of Alinghi on that last leg. Excellent hoist by both crews. Brilliant. So now they settle into their work. Team New Zealand, what have they got to do to try and disrupt the airflow coming down onto the white spinnaker?
Well, firstly, fantastic job by the crew, and especially by Terry and the afterguard. We saw there was the 20-second gap at the bottom gate there, and very nice job to close it back up and put themselves back into this race. As we spoke about, the boat upwind obviously gets the wind first, gets to make the decision on when to tack, when to use it, and really try and give some dirty air back to the boat behind. But on the downwind leg, it's the opposite. The boat behind receives the wind first, and they try and really cover the boat ahead to try and feed them the dirty air and take an advantage. So real interesting now to see if we see Team New Zealand go for the early jive, or if they're going to hold in there on the port tack.
Almost halfway down the final leg, the run to home in race 1 of the America's Cup. And Emirates Team New Zealand looking at the transom of Alinghi. Alinghi still hold the advantage. They've stretched it out. Well over 100 metres now. There we see where they are on the course. Around that last mark, it was only 14 seconds. So New Zealand had closed up when they were on the left-hand side, got a little bit of pressure there, were able to close up to just 14 seconds. But now 180 metres the margin downwind. And the body language on Alinghi suggests that they feel quite comfortable in this situation, of course, with this lead, but also in this situation downwind in these conditions, which Cameron have got, what, up to 15 knots at stages?
Yeah, the wind's been ranging probably on their masthead somewhere between 12 and 15 knots. And I think, for me, certainly, it's a little bit of a surprise to see how quick Alinghi have been downwind. I know the talk around had been that Team New Zealand thought that they might have a bit of an edge downwind. It's one area where they thought they could attack Alinghi. And both legs so far, we've seen Alinghi stretch away a little bit, and certainly on this leg they've really stretched out from, they've basically almost doubled their lead down here. And you know, it might not necessarily be a exact boat speed thing. They might have got a little bit better pressure. There's been some small splits. Alinghi gained quite a lot on the little split at the bottom mark on leg 2. But there's a lot of technique involved today with these waves around.
We can see again as we show the leg summaries. This is leg 3, the second upwind leg. Very little in average speed. Average speed difference 9.4 to 9.5, and 70 metres further travel by Emirates Team New Zealand for a round the mark difference of 14 seconds. Once again, it just emphasises, if people are getting a bit despondent about the look of this race, it just emphasises there's very little between these two, in these conditions today at least.
Oh, yeah, you're only talking about a tiny, tiny little gains that you're trying to find. And when you go out in these campaigns and you do years and years of testing, and you line up your two boats, and you're trying to find gains in the, you know, we're talking about 2 or 3 meters per minute in a test. You know, it's something you could never see with your eye. And if you can be guaranteed to gain 2 meters a minute on something new for the boat, you'll take it in a heartbeat. And you know, it's very, very small. And I think these two boats so far, from what we've seen, are pretty evenly matched. I know it seems like on that first upwind, Alinghi just gained by being in the left. They got the advantage of that left shift and got that early advantage. And as we've seen in all the semi-finals and the finals of the Louis Vuitton Cup, you have that small crucial advantage at the first meeting, which was, you know, happened in this race halfway up the beat. You know, it's very difficult to come back. So I think, you know, okay, it looks like Alinghi are going to take this race, but Team New Zealand certainly won't be too discouraged. You know, they know they could have done a slightly better job, but boat speed-wise, I think they'll be like, well, okay, we've got the boat to win races here, and it's only one race. Let's move on to tomorrow.
Obviously, you know, Alinghi got this one in the bag right now, and just the spectator fleet is that big that even after the race is finished, you have to have a strategy to try and get back home. And I was talking to, you know, Josh Belsky and the guys up forward in the pit there, how they're going to drop the sails and get ready to get on the tow line. But very, very impressive from Alinghi today. See Alinghi now on the final jibe now. Final approach to the finish line. Certainly no problems with the crew work here.
The speculation, the predictions, the tension, the anxiety. It's all over as we come to the end of race 1 of America's Cup 2007. Alinghi win the first race of the 32nd America's Cup. Alinghi has held off a tough challenge from Team New Zealand in the opening race of the 32nd America's Cup to be sailed out of Valencia, Spain. But Alinghi has beaten Team New Zealand, who at one stage held the lead early on in the first leg. Alinghi led by 13 seconds Mark 1, 20 seconds Mark 2, 14 seconds Mark 3, and in the end, Team New Zealand cross at 35 seconds behind Alinghi. So Terry Hutchinson and the afterguard of Kevin Hall and Ray Davies discussing how did that get away. They looked so good away from the start. They had bow out. They had an advantage of 50 metres. But this boat, Alinghi, it's going to be a tough proposition. Brad Butterworth, skipper and tactician for Alinghi, has extended his unbeaten record in America's Cup races. It's now out to 16. He's joined by the other New Zealanders, Murray Jones, Dean Phipps, Warwick Fleury and Simon Daubney. And speaking to someone very close to the Alinghi campaign the other day, he could not stress enough the importance and the influence of that Kiwi Type 5. Particularly the collective effort, and clearly that has been a factor in setting Alinghi's defence. So it is Alinghi 1, Team New Zealand 0.